and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Well, things ain't looking too hot for Biden and his family, especially Hunter Biden. Now, look, first and foremost, I want to bring up good friend of the show, good friend of the show, Niko House, who's been a fighter and a believer in truth to power. Shout out to Niko House. If you're not following him on social media, please do so. He is definitely somebody that you guys need to follow. I respect a lot of his work. So again, Joe Biden first claimed he didn't talk any of Hunter's business partners at all while he was the vice president under Barack Obama's administration. Now they're saying they just met over 20 times to talk about the weather. Listen, I'm not going to meet up 20 times to talk about the weather, okay? Daniel's my business partner for Hard Lens Media, right? I'm not going to call him and talk to him about the goddamn weather. I mean, now if we're going to be hit with a superstorm, we're like, hey, Dan, hey, heads up, look out. But that's it, one and done. Okay? One and done. 20 times to talk about the weather? What? See, that's how you know Biden's old and senile. But here, hang on. Let's listen to words from Niko House.
Joe Biden is such a fucking liar, bro. Joe Biden claimed that he had never been involved with any of Hunter Biden's business dealings at all, or talked to anyone involving Hunter Biden's business dealings. Survey says that is a lie. In fact, he joined dinners with Hunter Biden's business associates and was on the phone with them on speakerphone at least 20 times. Joe Biden also claimed that he had nothing to do with Hunter Biden being appointed to the board of Burisma, and he had nothing to do with the Ukrainian energy company. Survey says that is also a lie. One of Hunter Biden's best friends and business associates came out and said that Hunter Biden was only invited to sit on the board of Burisma because of the brand he brings, with his father being the vice president. He even takes it a step further and says that Burisma literally wouldn't exist. It would have failed as a business if it wasn't for Joe Biden protecting them. Now, these are just a couple of revelations from the testimony of Devon Archer yesterday. But the important part is that we recognize how much of a fucking liar Joe Biden is, and I can't believe that people would be okay with this, considering how people reacted to the idea that Trump was doing the same thing. I'm just asking people to keep the same energy, bro.
Exactly. So let's pull up this interview that Tucker Carlson did with Hunter's former business partner, Devon Archer. Let's talk about it. And shout out to Benny Johnson for downloading this. Thank you, Benny. As always, keep your heads on a swivel, folks. Drink water. Here, let's play this for all you lovely, beautiful people.
So you worked with Hunter Biden in a bunch of different businesses. What were the specific skills that he brought to clients?
Well, at the end of the day, he had a career in Washington.
Yeah.
The answer is he had none. He was just a rich man's son. Okay, there. Problem solved. Devon, you're being too generous, man.
Graduated Yale Law School and had a very big network in DC, and brought that know-how and understanding of DC and ultimately the Biden brand.
The know-how. So as far as I could tell, he wasn't doing legal work.
Correct.
He wasn't in the counsel's office at Burisma, right?
No.
So the network and the Biden brand sounds like the kind of key component of
absolutely
what he was bringing.
Yep.
Do you think that he would have been in those businesses, not having a business background, without his father being in a government position?
It's hard to speculate in those regards. I mean,
yeah.
I think when we initially met and he talked about his advisory business, his business that needed to transition from lobbying to advisory, and the interest in private equity, it seemed like a new and interesting network for us to expand our business. Whether he could have, been in that position, it's hard for me to speculate. But obviously, the brand of Biden, adds a lot of power when your dad's the vice president.
For sure. And there was a time maybe 10 years ago when private equity, maybe like AI now, was just one of those terms people were throwing out. I'm in private equity.
Right.
But the mechanics, having done it, coming from a business background yourself, are kind of complex.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a complex business.
Complex business. Now let's have democracy in the chat. You think Hunter understands the complexities of these businesses, or is it just that, hey, his dad is a powerful politician? Type 1, if you think, nah, man, Hunter's got this, Jack. What's wrong with you, man? Type 2, no. He's only in there because of his family. I'll let you decide in this democratic polling.
Takes years of training, but again, the initial idea around the business that they were going to provide, the government insight and an additional network to raise capital, and then deal with regulatory issues that you might have at the corporate level.
Right, regulatory issues.
Exactly.
Okay, so that would be more his area.
Right, that would be his space.
Right, but did he have a sophisticated understanding of regulation? Do you think?
I think that he led a team that had a sophisticated.
Okay, because I lived in Washington a long time around a lot of regulation. Also, a very complex area.
Absolutely. I think there's you got to be an expert in knowing the guy, and he was the guy that was the expert in knowing the guy.
He was an expert in knowing the guy.
Right.
And who was the guy he knew?
Well, he knew a lot of people, but obviously there was some familiar, his brother, his father, some of his father's siblings. So he knew a lot of people, and obviously I know you're pointing to the father being the key relationship.
No, I'm just trying to get a.
No, I mean, come on. Let's be clear here. I mean, let's face it. Hunter is associated with his dear old dad. I mean, again, the scandal keeps popping out. By the way, if this happened under Trump's administration, people would be screaming from the rooftop. I mean, Rachel Maddow would be doing 24-hour specials, but they already are because of this indictment towards Trump. Which, by the way, vote blue no matter who. There is a possibility where maybe kind of, sort of, Trump walks away from this. Do you have any idea how powerful he'll be? He'll be like a Super Saiyan, okay? You take out a Saiyan, right? You might beat them, but guess what? When they heal up, they come back twice as strong. Okay.
Sense of Washington's not a money town.
Right.
People aren't in business in Washington for the most part, and most people don't have business skills that I noticed in 30 years of living there. So really the business of Washington is selling access. That's what it looked like to me.
Yes.
Not just Hunter Biden, but
I think that's one of the core misconceptions. I mean, it seems like when understanding a regulatory environment means selling access at the end of the day. That's how I interpret it. And I think that's how most people in Wall Street, whether they admit it or not, interpret it.
Yeah. So we've got a complex business that intersects with government. We need a guy who knows it.
Right. How do I, deal with getting a guy a visa that needs to come over for a business deal? Right. Call our lobbyist that knows the guy in DHS or used to work in DHS or, in Customs and Border Patrol, or the people at the embassy and state. They might be able to help.
So in other words, folks, you got to know somebody. You got to have some push and pull in Washington, D.C. You got to have the access. In other words, what Washington, D.C. is one big cesspool. I just want to point out something. It's not related to this, but, when some time ago, Hard Lens Media did a story about the most corrupt cities in America. Yes, Chicago's number one. But if you add in Washington, D.C., it becomes number one. Now, why is that? Because of the environment that has been created by the politicians. A lot of the old geriatric politicians like Turtle Boy Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden himself, Nancy Pelosi, Lindsey Graham Cracker, Dianne Feinstein, Democrats and Republicans in the U.S. Senate and House, even their young, quote-unquote, replacements that are just waiting for the old guard to die so that the new guard can become just like the old guard, same vintage of wine, but nothing inspiring. It's one big club there. George Carlin, man, that Broadway musical that you're playing up in heaven saying I told you so must be a hell of a hit with everybody. Because I got to tell you, folks, this is how our government works. It's inherently corrupt.
Or very tactical elements that are regulatory and compliance and governance that you have to go through. And you got to know the guy that worked at the old agency that now has the lobbying firm that can go back to the agency and, get things put to the front of the line.
So now let's get to something that's very interesting. Let's talk about a letter written by Joe Biden apologizing for missing a meeting with Hunter Biden's business partners, but assured Archer that he'd be there for the next one. Thank you, Hotspot. Let's play it for the people so you all know what is going on.
We found this letter kind of amazing. It's from January 20th, 2011, which I think puts you in your late 30s, mid to late 30s.
Right.
Okay, so you're a younger man. This is from the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to you personally, and it's personalized here at the bottom. Devon Archer, Rosemont Seneca Partners. That was your partnership with Hunter Biden in Georgetown. Dear Devon, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu Jintang, who was running China at that point. I hope I get a chance to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together. So there are many levels here. But here's the Vice President of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was...
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little...
Hey, it does sound like a nice letter, but hang on. Vote blue no matter who, just so you see it one more time. Dear Devon, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu. I hope I get a chance to see you again with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed the lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. There you go.
Again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together.
Oh. It just brings a tear to my eye because of the utter hypocrisy.
So there are many levels here. But here's the Vice President of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was...
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird, though, right?
Yeah, well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world. And I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
It was a nice, for sure. Very polite. It gets a 10 on the etiquette scale, but he's a vice president of the United States,
right,
and he's talking about foreign business deals with you and thanking you for that.
I think, again, it goes back to my earlier point I think I hit at the time, I think I hit the jackpot in finding the regulatory environment or company that can navigate right to the top. But, obviously, as time was told, being a little bit too close to the sun ends up burning you.
For sure. And it did you, and you suffered greatly for it. And this is not a criticism of you. I would think as a business guy, you use every advantage. These are not business guys. This is the Vice President of the United States. He's not allowed to be working on businesses with.
Oh, Tucker, come on, man. You need to listen to Jimmy Dore more often. In fact, you need to go on the Jimmy Dore show and talk about corruption. Hell, come on to Hard Lens Media. We'll tell you all about the corruption.
The foreign governments while he's vice president. I don't think.
Not that I know of.
But here he is.
Right.
Amazing.
It's a crazy upside down world we live in. So the thing is, folks, already the vote blue no matter who people are having panic attacks. But listen, how could we end this segment? I mean, would Hunter Biden or Joe Biden himself, our current president of the United States, lie to the American people? I mean, who is the true goat of lying? Is it Donald Trump or is it Joe Biden? Well, I want to return back to everyone's favorite truth teller, Fat Tony. Jank, who's the goat of lying?
By the way, Biden lies all the time, and the mainstream media covers for him.
Big time.
So, yes, there's a hunger.
He's the GOAT of that area, though, right? Lying, would you say you'd put him at the top as the GOAT?
No, Trump's always.
Stop.
No,
It's always Trump. And he keeps on winning. Trump. It is true, man. You keep winning. My head's spinning. Doesn't stop.
are you kidding me? Trump doesn't
The guy
stop lying.
doesn't use it. Every speech he ever gave teleprompter was written by somebody else.
He said he cured cancer last week.
The guy plagiarizing and
but
there's a difference between known lying and not known lying. Like Trump is knowingly lying, whereas Biden is just literally forgetful and dementia.
just out of curiosity, guys, don't ever. I'm putting my foot down here. Don't ever undermine the GOAT of all time of lying, President Joe Biden. Don't ever do that again. That's an insult. Okay,
Again, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were in business together. I mean, come on.
This is a guy that does it in a way.
I never talked to my son about his business
straight
dealings.
look on his face.
Pull
It's
up
just
the
a
amount of
goat.
lies in first term.
He's the GOAT. Keep going.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
curious, Chen,
By the way,
So again, that's how we can end this segment. It's just maddening to think that our whole country, and there's a voting base here too, that think that Joe Biden is the symbol of integrity and justice and honor, when that's not the case at all. We live in a crazy world, folks. Keep your heads on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings. And let me just tell you something. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they're both corrupt. They're both filled with people and dynastic families that only care about their bottom line. Trump cares about his financial future and his legacy, as does Joe Biden, as does anyone else that's associated with the two-party system. Shout out for Tucker Carlson for doing that full interview. I encourage all of you to check out his social media and follow the full interview in its full entirety. I wish things weren't this corrupt, but just remember who built the system. It was people like Joe Biden and other politicians that have been in power for 20 to 30 plus years. We have to do better. We must do better, or all will be lost.